In this video, I'm going to show you how to factorize cubic expressions, and I'm going to take you through 4 different methods, starting from the easiest and then working our way up. We'll start with the calculator / table method. We literally just use our calculator and the table in our calculator to factorize the polynomials. So looking at this first example, x cubed minus 5x squared minus 8x plus 12 is equal to 0. So you want to start by turning on your calculator, go to mode, and then press 3 for the table mode. Your calculator should show you an fx equation, so fx is equal to, and there you just punch in the expression that is shown here. So alpha, close bracket, gives you the x, and you cube that, and then just continue to punch in the entire function. Then when you've done so, press equal to. If your calculator shows a gx equation, just press equal to skip that part, because we're only going to be dealing with this one for now. And then it asks you where we're going to start. We like to start at -9. I always try and make my domain as big as possible. And then we're going to end at 9, and we're going to have a step of 1. Okay. So a table should appear with x and y values. Now you need to look for the y values that is 0. Because remember, an x-intercept is where a y value is 0. Okay, so here I got a y value of 0, and that is where x is -2. Okay, so a solution for this equation is where x is equal to -2. Which means that the factor for this equation is x plus 2. Okay, let's find all the other factors. This is a cubic expression, so it should have 3 factors. So we keep going down. Again, I hit 0. Y is 0 where x is 1. Okay, so if x is equal to 1, that means I have another factor of x minus 1. Notice the brackets and the x-intercepts, or the roots, the solutions, are always going to be opposite signs. If it's x equal to -2, our bracket is x plus 2. If it's x equal to 1, our bracket is x minus 1. So let's find a last x-intercept, and that is where x is 6. Where x is 6, y is 0. So that's another solution. As a factor, we write x minus 6. Okay, so this is how you would factorize that expression. And if the question was for us to solve x, we would simply just leave it as these answers here at the bottom. Okay, let's have a look at the second example. Start by punching in the function into your calculator. Once you are done, press equal to. Again, we're going to skip gx. We'll start at -9, end at 9, and keep our step 1. Okay, now we need to look for the y values that are 0, and then once we find that, we look at what that x value is. This is checking for your x-intercepts. Okay, so here's one x-intercept. It's where x is -2, then y is 0. So I'll just write that down, where x is -2. So our first factor is x plus 2. Let's keep going. We should find 3. Right, there's another one where x is equal to 3. So I write x minus 3. And then we still need to find a third factor. But in this case, the calculator only shows me these 2. So how do I find in my third factor? Well, this is one way to do it. We'll start off by saying x times what will give us x cubed, and the answer is x. X times x give us x cubed. Then we look at this last value, which is 18. So we're going to say 2 times -3 times what gives us the 18. And again, the answer is -3, because 2 times -3 times -3 gives you positive 18. Okay, so the reason the calculator never showed you this third factor is because they are actually the same thing. Okay, so the calculator won't show you this twice. It's just going to show it once, but we managed to find it out using some guess and check. Okay, moving on to the second method. Method number 2 is either to take out a common factor or to group the terms. Now, even though this equation looks very similar to the one that we previously had, it's only the c that is different. Instead of 18, it's now 12. This equation is not easily solved by using the calculator method. As you can see, I punched the function in my calculator, and once I press equal to follow all the same steps that I followed before, I only managed to find one factor, and that is where x is equal to 4, or I guess an x-intercept. So the factor is x minus 4, because it's always opposite of what the root is. So that's the only factor I was able to find. So this method, this calculator method, won't work for solving this equation. What I now can do is group the first two terms and take out a common factor. So if I take out x squared as a common factor, that's my highest common factor, I am left with an x minus 4. Okay, then I look at my next two terms. I'll take out negative 3, and that gives me x minus 4. Notice I have a common bracket, so I'll write the x squared minus 3 with my common bracket x minus 4, and there we go. There's it all factorized. Now this bracket over here, since this is an equation, let's just write the solutions for this equation. I'll do it over here. We already know that x is equal to 4 for this one, but for that one, x will be equal to plus or minus the square root of 3, because you take 3 across and then the square root on both sides. For the next one, we'll have to take out a common factor. All of these terms has an x in it, so I can take out a common factor of x. This is the highest common factor I can remove from the equation. Now I just have a trinomial, so I can factorize that trinomial. It's going to be 3x and x. That's the factors of 3x squared. Then the factors of 7, since it's a prime number, it's just 7 and 1. Notice when I multiply 3 with 7, I get 21, and 1 with 1, I just get 1. So 21 minus 1 is 20. Okay, this should get the minus, and that should get the plus. Again, if I just were to write out the solutions for this equation, the first is x equal to 0. That's because we took out x as a common factor. The next is this bracket, negative 1 over 3, so negative a third. And for this bracket, 7. Okay, we would most likely be able to find these two answers using the calculator method, but then you'd have to try something to figure out that one. This next method is called synthetic division, but to start off this method, you first need to find at least one factor using some trial and error. So again, I'm just going to make use of the table in our calculator to find one x value, which is going to give us the factor for this equation. My calculator will actually give me all the solutions for this equation, but I'm just going to find one and then show you guys how to do synthetic division, because for the next one we wouldn't be able to find all the solutions from the calculator. So let's punch it in the calculator first. So here's my table. I need to go down, look for my x-intercepts. Right, the first x-intercept is where x is equal to negative 3. So like I said, you just need one x-intercept, that's all. I'm going to write it as a factor, so that's x plus 3. Okay, so now this is how you do the synthetic method. You put the number, the solution, which is negative 3, you put that on this side, and then the coefficients for all the numbers, or for all the terms, we are going to fill in here on top. So it's the 1, it's the -4, it's the -11, and 30. Okay, you just fold that in the top row. Then the 1, you just bring it down, and now you multiply the -3 with this 1, which gives us -3. Then you add, that gives us -7. Then you multiply again, so -3 times -7, that gives you 21. And -11 plus 21 is equal to 10. And then -3 times 10 is -30. And 30 minus 30 is 0. You will always notice that this cancels. So these numbers here are the coefficients for the trinomial that goes here. So 1x squared minus 7x plus 10. Then all we need to do is factorize the trinomial. So the factors of 10 to give us the 7 is 5 and 2, -5 and -2. Okay, so therefore you can now read off your x intercepts, or your x solutions. It's -3, it's 2, and it's 5. Okay, and we did it via synthetic division. Let's have a look at this one. We'll start off by punching the equation into our calculator. So it's x cubed minus x squared minus x plus 10 equal to, follow the same steps, and we get our table. Look for all the x-intercepts that you can find, and the only one that I can find is -2, which means we have a factor of x minus 2. Okay, so now I'm going to apply the synthetic division method. Okay, so -2 goes over here. Then I write the coefficients of these terms: 1, -1, -1 again, and 10. Okay, we bring this 1 down. Then we multiply. -2 times 1 is -2. -1 plus -2 gives us -3. -2 times -3 is 6. -1 plus 6 is 5. -2 times 5 is -10. 10 minus 10 is 0. So again, we end up with 0. These numbers here are the coefficients for the trinomial. So that is x squared minus 3x plus 5. Cool. Now, this trinomial can't be factorized. Also, if you make use of the quadratic formula, there are no solutions for x for this trinomial. So this is the only solution for the cubic expression. For these last two examples, I'm going to be using the K method. And so we are first going to start off by finding at least one x-intercept. So let me again just make use of my calculator. So over here I got the table for this expression. I start at -9, end at 9. Let's check for our x-intercepts. So -1 is my x-intercept. I'm going to write that as a factor. So that is x plus 1. Okay. And now we know that the next bracket has to be a trinomial. Okay. X times what number here, or what term here, will give us a 2x cubed. Well, it's x times 2x squared. When we multiply these two things, we get the 2x cubed. Then, to find this last value here, +1 times what gives us 3? It has to be 1 times +3. Okay, so now to find the middle term, I'm going to call that k, or let's call it kx. Okay, because k is the coefficient of x. Now, to work out what k is, we are going to look at the 5x squared in the middle over here. Okay, so if you multiply this, this is +1 times 2x squared. That gives us +2x squared. And also if we multiply the x with the kx, that's a +kx x squared, these two terms, once you add them up, is supposed to give you the negative 5x squared. Okay, so it's 2x squared plus kx squared, and that's supposed to give us negative 5x squared. This must mean then that kx squared is equal to negative 7x squared, if I take that across, and then if I divide by x squared, k is equal to 7, or negative 7. Now, I'm going to substitute k with negative 7, and then factorize the trinomial. If k is equal to negative 7, I'll factorize this trinomial as 2x and x. That's the factors of 2x squared. 3 is a prime number, so it's just 3 and 1. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 plus 6 is 7. So both signs should be the same. It's negative and negative. And here we can write down the solutions. If this were to be an equation, we'd write down the solutions as x is equal to negative 1, or x is equal to 1 over 2, positive, and x is equal to positive 3. These two we found on the calculator, but we had to do a little magic to find this one. So you know the drill already. Punch the function into your calculator. Start at negative 9, end at 9. Look for your x-intercepts. The first x-intercept I get is negative 4. Okay, so I'm going to use that. If x is equal to negative 4, that means x plus 4 is my factor. Okay, I'm going to use the k method again. X times x squared gives us x cubed. Then 4 times 4 is equal to 16. Now to find this middle term, I'm going to label that as kx. Now there's no x squared term here, which means that the coefficient of that x squared term is 0. Okay, so if we multiply 4 with x squared, we get 4x squared. And if we multiply x with the kx, that gives us kx squared. Now there's a 0x squared here, so we know that 4x squared plus kx squared is equal to 0x squared, or just 0. I'll just leave it as 0. Therefore, kx squared is equal to negative 4x squared. If I take that across and divide by x squared on both sides, k is equal to negative 4. Let's substitute that here and factorize further. Now, factorizing this trinomial further is easy because that's just a perfect square. The factors of 4 to give us 4 is 2 and 2. Both brackets should be negative. So here's the solutions for x. If this equation was equal to 0, x is equal to negative 4 and x is equal to 2. Both these answers you could have found using the calculator, and using the first method that we learned in the beginning, you could have actually just figure out this second one. But I just thought I'd show you guys all 4 methods so you have multiple tools in your arsenal to factorize these cubic expressions.